Welcome everybody. Super excited you're able to join me. Now today's topic and video is going to be so impactful to the people who watch. And I only know that because it's been so impactful to the people that we work with, the parents, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, aspiring leaders out there who are trying to make a greater impact in their world. They're trying to discover their gifts, superpowers, create more value for the people around them, have deeper, more meaningful relationships, really just have a more fulfilling life as a part of it. They want to be unstuck. They don't want to be in burnout or overwhelm or anxiety mode. They don't want to be a ghost in their own home. And so one of the things that causes that, one of the things that gets us stuck so often is what today's video is going to be about. Now, here are some of the working titles that I had as I wrote it, because I wanted to kind of get what would be the best way to approach it to you. So here are these, listen to these working titles and see if any of them resonate with you. Things like, beyond perfectionism, why you're good enough is actually gets results, or stop waiting for perfect. How being helpful creates impact. Perfectionism is truly slowing you down, and here's how to fix it. The hidden cost of perfectionism. Perfectionism is the reason you're still stuck. Good enough is going to be perfect every time. Stop polishing. Start helping. Start having an impact. Start making a difference. These are just some of them. How you can share your work before you feel ready without regretting it. These are all just working titles I came up with. Because here's the thing, and I know this is so true about so many of the people that we work with. You've probably written that thing down, 3 times, maybe 5 times. Maybe you went back to that thing you were working on and you adjusted the wording, or you tightened up the ending, or you restructured the middle, and somehow it's still sitting in your drafts. It's still not done. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much that it has to be right. Now, let me ask you something. Just notice how this hits you when you hear it. Do you ever feel behind even though you're working really hard? Or do you spend time refining, rather than releasing? Do you maybe hesitate right before you're going to share something? Not because you don't know enough, but because once it's out there, it can be judged, or people can pick it apart, or whatever that looks like. And if you're honest, think about it. Does perfection sometimes feel like you're being responsible? It's the reason you've gotten so far, because you've got a high standard, right? You've got, it has to be a certain way. That's what got me to where I am. Well, I want to unpack that with you today, because it's often the thing that's actually holding you back. I like to do this at the top of every video. I haven't done it yet, so I just like to say welcome to the Giver Method channel if you're new here. If you're back for another video, welcome back. In case you weren't aware, the Giver Method channel, it's all based on my book, The Giver Method. My name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. It's grounded in things directly from the book, as well as from our one-on-one coaching program called the Ignition Accelerator. Now, what this is designed to do, this is your field guide. And right now it's available on Amazon for as little as $2. I think you can get it between $2 to $10. You can use a link in the description, or you can pause the video, go to Amazon, look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert, buy a copy for yourself, buy a copy for someone close to you before the prices go up, right? Buy it for your team, buy it for family, whomever. But it's the field guide for the parents, entrepreneurs, leaders, aspiring leaders, where you can't just burn everything down and start from scratch. You can't just go move to the woods and find yourself, or go to some woo retreat that's going to magically unlock everything you need. No, you need things that are going to help you right in the messy middle. And so everything in here, every chapter has action items, exercises, worksheets you can download that are designed to help you walk through all the principles while you're living the life you're already living, without asking you to add a bunch more to your plate. So go get yourself a copy. Or if you're yeah, I get it, but I'm looking for maybe some of that one-on-one help, then check out Ignition Accelerator program. I'll put a link in the description of that as well. It's a one-on-one program where we actually walk you through everything one-on-one, and we install the frameworks and systems you need to make sure that this stuff lasts long beyond working with us. Now, at the Giver Method, once again, I told you, we work with parents, entrepreneurs, leaders, professionals. Oftentimes, I refer to them as you're high capacity people, and you don't lack standards, right? You just don't release until it feels airtight. I mean, I get it. You care deeply, you want things to go well. But somewhere along the way, doing it well quietly became I can't release it until it's flawless, until it's done right. And there's a subtle shift there, but it's really an expensive shift, because the deeper pain isn't failure. It's actually invisibility. Ideas sitting in drafts, opportunities passing you over, launch dates that keep moving, or conversations or whatever ending before you speak. All these sort of things, you start to feel behind, not because you're incapable, but because nothing has entered the real world. It hasn't gone in long enough for you to actually be able to see what it's doing and improve upon it over time. And so that's what we want to do. Today isn't about it's not about lowering your standards by any means. It's about applying your standards differently. And I'm going to walk through 5 very specific shifts. So what I recommend is that you grab a piece of paper, you open up a notes app. You're going to want to take notes, because for each of these principles that I cover, there's going to be action items and exercises you can do today that could start making an impact. And I do things like tell you, like, okay, go do this item, or write this down, fill in the blank, read this out loud, say it out loud, go journal about this. And the reason why is each one of those things is designed to help to reprogram your brain so that you can pick up those things faster. So trust the process. Trust when I say, like, hey, you want to say this out loud? It might feel weird to say it out loud. Say it out loud. Write it down. Fill in the blank. Like, take the time to do that. If you have to pause the video to do it, do it. Think of this like a workshop where I'm basically walking you through how to move past these pain points, right? Nothing here asks you to care less. It just asks you to release some things sooner, And if like, your default, like, is you're going to fall back to this thing. Like, when pressure rises, like, it's like, I'm going to fall back to that same sort of stuff. Like, you can teach me this stuff all along, but I fall back into these patterns. It's like, great. Then that's when you'd want to use the link in the description to go get a copy of the Giver Method book to really install some systems, or check out the Ignition Accelerator program. Like I said, it's a 90-day coaching program where we work one-on-one to take imperfect action and build that repeatable rhythm into your life. Like, check out the links for those. At the same time, you can also go follow us on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all under the handle, the username, The Giver Method. You can hear on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, like the video, comment your thoughts. That way we show up in front of you. You can also go to thegivermethod.com and check out all of our resources. We've got tons of free resources like a newsletter and free downloads. And then there'll be a link down below where you can get a bunch of that stuff as well. And of course, I always like to say, if someone's watching this and you have an audience, a stage, a podcast, an event where this message would resonate with your people, then click the link below. Let's talk about what it would look like for me to come, speak at your event, speak on your stage, be a guest on your podcast and discuss these needs so that it impacts your audience as well. But for now, like, whatever the thing may be, whether it's Ignition Accelerator, the book, the free resources, following us, like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to commit to anything. You just need to follow along. You need to be committed to this thing. You need just look for the clarity. Because if you keep mistaking polishing for progress, then, gosh, you're going to stay busy. You're going to feel like you have things done, like you're checking the boxes, but you're going to be unseen. And so let's dive into these principles so you can truly see what that looks like for you as we, for the long haul, like what you could actually be doing today to make a difference. And so the first principle is perfectionism isn't excellence. It's control and fear wearing a suit. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about safety. That's really what it comes down to. It is something that so many people like you, parents, entrepreneurs, leaders, aspiring leaders, the high capacity people, you don't love to hear, especially when it's the first thing out the gate. Perfectionism is not like, it isn't mainly about excellence. It's about control. It's about fear. It's about trying to, you're trying to control how you're perceived, how you're going to be judged, whether you're misunderstood, whether you're exposed, and why it spikes is something that actually matters. Like, think about it this way. Like, if you're a leader, you're polishing for clarity. That's not, you're not polishing just for clarity. You're polishing so that people don't question you. As a parent, like, you're not like replaying the moment because you love growth. You're replaying because, like, the guilt feels heavier. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, like, the endless revisions that you keep going through, like, isn't because you care more. It's because, like, if it's flawless, maybe, like, it won't be rejected. Like, there's so many ways this shows up, even for creatives and such. Like here's the thing: perfectionism, it feels like it's promising safety, but safety is what makes your gifts, the things like the place where you can make the greatest impact, invisible. Now, the thing I need you to understand is that you're the only person that has your combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences, which means that you're the only person who can make an impact in certain people's lives the way that you can. And we need to move past the perfections. We need to move past the things that are holding back, the fear, the imposter syndrome, all the different things. Like, we need to move past these things so you can actually be able to make the impact for those people, that you're the only person who can make it in the way that you can. So, like, when you confuse control with excellence, things will never feel finished because you can't control people's reactions. So you keep refining, not always to improve it, but to protect yourself. You just may not realize that yet. So here's what I want you to do. The first step I want you to do as a part of this principle: identify what you're actually trying to control. And so the next time maybe you catch yourself over polishing something, don't ask, like, is it good enough? Like, ask, like, what am I trying to prevent? What am I trying to prevent with this right now? Am I trying to prevent being judged or misunderstood or criticized or exposed as it's not ready? And whatever it is, I want you to write it down. Like, if I release this right now, I'm afraid blank will happen. That sentence will tell you more about your perfectionism than any productivity system ever will, because now you're not dealing with quality, you're dealing with a fear, and you can actually go attack that fear at that point. So the next thing you have to do is you have to separate that excellence from the control. Excellence is about usefulness. Control is about perception. Like, excellence asks, will this help anyone? Like, will this actually make an impact? Control is like, how will this make me look? If it got out now, what would people think of that? and it shows up in so many different ways. Like, here's the thing, like if you're excellence is clarity. Like, let's look at it this way. If you're a leader, excellence could be clarity. Control is micromanaging the tone so that nobody challenges you. As a parent, like excellence could be presence. Control is like trying to never show your frustration. As an employee, excellence could be contribution, but control is like rewriting that email 14 times to get it right. Those aren't like, they're not the same thing. Excellence improves impact. Control delays the exposure, which means that it delays the impact. And then the next thing you want to do is run the, I call it the help test. And so there's a question you want to ask yourself that hopefully helps ground you as a part of that. Like, would this help one real person take one real step? That's it. Not is it flawless or airtight or could someone criticize it? Like, would it be helpful to someone in its version right now? Because helpful beats perfection. If the answer is yes, even if it's imperfect, then maybe it deserves to exist. It needs to be out there, And so write down the rule. If it helps, it ships. That one sentence will help free up more momentum than any round of edits ever will. And then the next thing is like ship to the right room first. Like perfectionism, like it loves the extremes. If you can't release it perfectly to everyone, like don't release it at all. That's not how contribution actually works. That's not how you develop systems and processes properly. You don't have to publish it to the world. Start with maybe one trusted person, a colleague, a friend, a small audience, like low stakes, high signal. Like the exposure, it's going to reduce the fear. Avoidance, it feeds it. So you're not trying to eliminate the anxiety behind it. You're just trying like releasing, so like you can let anxiety decide whether your work exists. Like don't let it. Let's move past it. Perfectionism, like it doesn't just delay projects, it delays your identity. So when you're choosing that control side of it over contribution, you're reinforcing this belief that your value depends on this flawless perfection production every single time. No, perfection is making it safe. Contribution is making it useful. Think about the impact. Like if you want momentum, confidence, real impact, useful is going to win every single time. Now the next principle number 2 that I want to cover is like the hidden cost isn't imperfection. It's actually low momentum. They're like waiting to get that thing out so that it's flawless is more expensive than getting it wrong. And that's part like perfectionism doesn't actually see all the time. Like most people think the danger is like, producing something imperfect, and it's not. The real cost is that it never gets tested. There's no feedback, there's no traction, there's no real world reps, there's no impact on people being made. Like, and without those reps, your brain has no evidence. So it defaults to the same conclusion of like, see, it's not ready yet. It's not ready. I got to do a little bit more. And that's why so many people like you feel like they're behind. Not because you lack the ability to, but because nothing that you've been building has been in the world long enough to actually be able to go and improve it. Private refinement, it feels productive, but like it doesn't compound. Reps do. Momentum is built through the exposure, not through the readiness. And so here's what I want you to focus on. Like the first step is going to be like you start measuring releases instead of effort. Perfectionism is going to focus on measuring the hours. Momentum builders, like that's measured off of output. So instead of asking like, how long did I work on this? It's like, what did I put into the world? Hey, this week, I'm going to track the releases, not the preparation. Like what are the things I actually just put out into the world, whether they're perfect or not? I sent the one email, I did the one post, I voiced the one idea, the draft was shared, I recorded the video, whatever it is. Like the release creates traction. Effort alone, like it doesn't. You have to get it out there. I just hit 1 million views on YouTube, and people, recently have been like, well, what are you doing? You've only got a small following, of subscribers on there. What are you doing to get to 1 million views? And I'm like, it's just putting things out there. I'm just trying to put value, whether it's right or wrong or imperfect, I'm putting value out there for people. And so the next step I want you to do there is like define done before you begin. Perfectionism, it stalls because it like the done keeps moving, like the target you're going for keeps moving out. So before you start, you define in one sentence. For example, like done means someone can use this without me explaining it. Or done means this communicates the core idea clearly. If you don't define the finish line, your anxiety will. Now you also have to make sure that like the done version isn't like this extreme version that there's no way you could ever get done. And so a lot of time what I look at for people is I'd like them to put like time constraints on certain things. Like what's the 60-minute version? Like, version 1 rule. When I've entrepreneurs writing emails, I'm like, set the 10-minute timer, write the email. When you're done, that's the email you're sending. You can always go back and refine it down the road, but like sometimes it's the 60-minute version. Like set your timer of like, what's my version 1 rule? And so oftentimes if you do like I would say maximum is a 60-minute. You pick one thing that you've been holding. not your life's work, not your opus, not your no, it's just one thing, and you set a timer for 60 minutes, and your job is not to be perfect at it. Your job is to create something usable, a usable version, and then ship it to one person, not the world, not everybody, not put it out there. You just ship it to one person. Momentum is built in motion, not with this mental rehearsal. Once something exists in reality, it starts teaching you. That's where improvements really do begin. And then end every day by asking yourself a question what did I actually release today? What did I put out in the world? What contribution, impact did I make? Not what did I refine, what did I tweak, or what did I almost finish? It's no, what's actually been released, what's out there? And if the answer is nothing, don't judge it, just notice it, because awareness is what starts to shift you from polishing to contributing. Perfectionism doesn't destroy confidence overnight. It starts to erode it slowly through stagnation. When nothing is tested, nothing improves. But when you feel behind, you polish more, and that's just this vicious cycle you get into. But the moment you start releasing, even imperfectly, something starts to shift, you get feedback, you gain clarity, you build evidence, you just keep moving forward. Momentum isn't built in private, it's built in motion by actually doing things. Once you see that clearly, perfectionism stops looking responsible and it starts looking way more expensive because of the amount of time you've been wasting on those things. Now, the third principle I want you to focus on is helpful is a way better standard than perfect. So think about it, this is where we start to shift to service focus. It's a stronger metric than flawlessness. And it's something that's, a lot of time it's the quiet programming that's running a lot of your standards. Perfect is an abstract concept. Perfect to you may be perfect to someone else. It may be totally different for someone else. It's abstract. Helpful, service-based is measurable. Perfect usually has no finish line. Helpful does. Perfectionism always is going to ask wow, is this flawless? Is it airtight? Is it could someone criticize it? Could it, is there any more refined contribution? Is hey, will this help someone take one step? And this is a small shift, but it changes everything, because perfect is about the perception, helpful is about the impact. That's where we're focused. How do we go make the impact from there? It's think about it this way, if you're a parent, it might be perfectionism could sound something I was emotionally flawless today. Or helpfulness sounds I was present when it mattered. I was airtight. Well, no, it's not as airtight. Did this create clarity for someone? Someone an entrepreneur, is my brand polished enough? No, did this solve a problem for someone today? Think about it that way. Start to shift the thing. Is this a masterpiece? No, could this move someone forward? Did it, could I put it out there and it would move someone forward? It doesn't lower your standards, it just anchors them in reality. And so here's what I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to define, what does helpful mean to you? Because it's totally different. Right now, perfect has its power because it's vague. And that's why that finish line keeps getting pushed out, because perfect keeps changing on you. So replace it with something defined. Write down, helpful means blank, whatever it is for you, and keep it simple. Clean enough to use it, practical enough to apply it, specific enough that you can act upon it. So if you don't define helpful, your mind defaults back to the flawless and the performance mode, and that never feels finished. And so then the next thing you want to do there is ask go ask for some targeted feedback, not global approval. Perfectionism asks well, what did you think? That invites a global judgment. Instead, narrow the questions, hey, was this clear? What part was confusing? What do you think would be next for you? Well, now you're measuring usefulness, not ability. Clarity is adjustable. Your worth is not. Your worth is you are who you are. Now, the next thing you want to do there is you want to use this, there's the version test. It's a super powerful filter. If version 1 can be understood and used, then version 1 deserves to exist. Not to win awards, not to impress anyone, just to begin impact. Perfectionism, it optimizes way too early. But usefulness grows through exposure. You don't polish something into relevance. You release it into relevance. So write it down hey, if it can be used, it can be released. And then you have to choose service over perfection, and do it today. Choose one thing today. You don't need you don't need some sort of crazy personality overhaul or anything like that. Just choose service over self-protection in one moment. Speak that one idea, send that one draft, post that thought. Have a conversation, just an honest conversation. Perfectionism is going to ask does this make me look blank? How does it make me look? How does it contribution? Well, who would this help? Who could I get this in front of? Those are very different questions. The second one's going to build the momentum you're looking for, And then, you can do things like set an impact deadline, not a time deadline. Most deadlines are based on like Friday at 5, which allows this endless polishing. Instead, try hey, this is ready when it helps one person take a real step. That forces more clarity, faster. And perfectionism, it creates these imaginary standards, and the imaginary standards can't ever be satisfied. Helpful standards can. When you shift from the flawless to useful, you're going to finish more things, you're going to release more things, you're going to learn faster, you're going to build evidence, and you're just going to be able to repeat and that cycle again and again as many times as you need to. Now, the fourth principle of the 5 that we're covering is you have to release first and then refine after. So timing your standards, it changes things. Because if we talk about sequencing, most thoughts, perfectionists, it's not that you lack discipline. You misapply the discipline. You try to optimize something before it's been exposed to reality. You polish it into you think will matter, right? Before you've even tested what actually does. And that's where perfectionism quietly stalls, any sort of momentum. You're not lowering your standards. You're just you're applying standards too early. There are 2 modes that really do that need to exist. And one and here's the thing, they can't operate at the exact same time. So if there's a moment where you need to be in creative output mode, which is fast and messy and generous, I'm just getting it out there. And then there's refinement mode, which is precise and polished and strategic. And most people like yourself, you blend them together. And when you blend them, output slows down. It slows down in so many ways. You're editing that landing page too many times. You're critiquing the paragraph of the draft you've been doing. You rephrase the sentence, mid-thought instead of trying to finish your idea. You're tweaking things, before, trying to, because you're trying to clarify something just right. No, the issue isn't standards, it's timing. So let's break down what you can do about that. And so once again, if we label the mode before you begin, before you start on something, working on it, decide which mode you're in and say it out loud. Right now, I'm in creative mode. I'm in the creating mode, or right now I'm in refining mode. You can't do both. Take the one hat off, put the other hat on. If you try, your brain is going to default to critiquing, and the critiquing slows output. But when you're creating, you're allowed to just be incomplete. When you're refining, you're allowed to be precise. You can't be both at the same time. And then always create before you critique. So set a boundary. Maybe it's hey, for the first 20 minutes, I'm going to do no editing. I'm just going to word vomit. I'm not going to reword. I'm not going to delete. I'm not going to rearrange. I'm just going to type. I have some of the messiest typing when I do that, or I'll do a voice text or whatever, and then come back, right? If you try to reword or delete or rearrange, instead of just building things, perfectionism calls editing responsible. But editing during creation is often just fear disguised as productivity. Even if it's well, I don't want people to realize that I spelt that word wrong. Who cares? You spelt it wrong. It has a little red squiggly under it. That's fine. Just keep moving forward. Don't critique the tone mid-conversation when you're doing things. Stay present. You don't have to fine-tune the slide while you're still trying to clarify the direction of the presentation you're trying to do. Whatever it is, let the draft exist before you judge it. Creation needs freeform. The refinement needs the discipline. Don't confuse the two. And then you refine based on data, not anxiety, not based off just gut feelings. And that's where perfectionism traps so many smart people. You refine based on this imagined criticism, not real feedback. And so ask, has someone actually pointed this out? Has someone actually pointed to that thing? And when you say yeah, everybody, and it's one person, sorry, that's not everybody. I hear that a lot from people. Everyone feels this, everyone thinks this. How many people did you talk to? 1. That's not everybody. That's a very teeny sample size. Has it actually, has anyone pointed this thing? If not, it's fear. Refinement should respond to real confusion, real questions, real outcomes, real feedback. When you refine based on data, your work improves. If you refine based on anxiety, you just delay the exposure even more. And then if you start to focus on diminishing return, checkpoints, at some point improvement plateaus. Perfection often it doesn't recognize that point, so you keep making another change. Will this improve clarity or usability or impact? If it only reduces your internal discomfort, it's not refinement, it's control. Think about it this way, most of the time when you're working on something, video, something you're trying to release, a conversation you're going to have, you're I don't know if I'm ready. Truthfully, if you were to release those things, put them out into the world at 80%, your 80% is more of what people need, and you can get out there faster than the weeks and times and months you're going to spend trying to refine the 20% that people don't actually care about. It doesn't actually create more value for them, but you think it is. You think it's going to tie things up really cleanly. And then the next thing you want to do is you use like a 5-minute start when you're frozen. And so perfectionism, like sometimes it paralyzes you. So let's look at some lower entry points. We're going to set a 5-minute timer. You're not trying to do it well. You're just trying to begin. Beginning anything creates motion. Motion reduces fear. Once again, waiting amplifies it. 5 minutes turns into progress, but only if you start doing something. This idea of like being perfect and those sort of things, like it doesn't just slow projects. It keeps ideas in isolation. It convinces you nothing should exist until it's polished. But like, once again, then your impact doesn't get out there. Impact doesn't grow in isolation. You release it, you refine it after. You're going to learn faster. You're going to waste less energy. You're going to improve what matters and build traction in the real world. There's so many things out there that prove these principles to be true. And then, of course, the fifth of the principles I want to cover is imperfect action builds evidence, and evidence builds confidence. Once again, you don't become ready, you become proven. And so if we close this loop, perfectionism believes confidence comes first, and it's not. That's backwards. Confidence is rarely the starting point. It's usually the result of proof. The real sequence looks like you take action, you get feedback, you adjust, there's proof, and you have confidence. And that's what most people miss. You can't build proof in isolation. Like that's just how it works. You don't just become ready, you become proven. And research supports this. Like, fear shrinks through repetition, not avoidance. Feedback loops improve performance faster than any sort of private refinement. Starting reduces anxiety faster than planning. Action builds evidence. Evidence builds confidence. It's not the other way around. So the first thing is start collecting proof of your purpose. Most perfectionists don't lack success. They just don't document the evidence. So you start a note on your phone that's called the evidence log. Every time you put something out and survive, like write it down. Every time you handle feedback well, write it down. Every time someone's like, man, that was helpful to me, write those things down, because your brain remembers awkward moments, but it forgets the 10 times that you did fine. And so like write down the question, like, what evidence do I already have that I can handle this thing? If you don't collect proof, like your fear will keep rewriting the story again and again. And then the next thing is like, you have to reduce the stakes of your first release. Like, perfectionism makes everything feel like it's the final exam. It's your opus. It's your New York Times bestseller. That's not what it is. Lower the stakes on purpose. You don't make it into your life's work. You just have to make it like one useful contribution. That's it. That's all you have to focus on. You're not trying to prove everything. You're trying to build evidence. And then you practice recovery instead of avoidance. Because perfectionism, like it often measures success by how like smooth something feels. But growth is measured with how quick you recover from that thing. If you put something out there and it lands awkwardly, you adjust. If someone questions it, you clarify. If it underperforms, you refine. You don't disappear, you recover. Like, recovery builds more resilience. Avoidance is going to make you more fragile, which makes perfectionism even stronger. Confidence grows when you realize, hey, I can handle this. Not when it's like I can completely eliminate the risk that's there. And then think about it this way, use experiment language as well. So the language you use, the things you say out loud have such a massive impact on how your brain thinks and views the world. And so instead of being like, hey, this has to work, say, I'm testing this. Instead of like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's so important to me, it defines me, or like, hey, this is just version 1 and I can come back and do version 2 later. It shifts, like it keeps you in growth mode. It removes identity pressure. And if everything feels like a verdict, you freeze. If it feels like data, well, then you can iterate on top of that. And then the next thing is just whatever you choose to do, take one imperfect action today. And don't complicate this. Send the one finished idea to a trusted person, not to impress them, just to build evidence. The moment it leaves your head and it enters reality, something shifts. Now it's real. And once it's real, it can improve. Because perfectionism keeps you chasing that feeling of readiness that's never going to arrive. Evidence changes your identity. Evidence is what makes the impact. It builds confidence, and confidence builds the impact that only you can make, because you're the only person with your combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. So you're the only person who can make an impact in the way that you can. Now, as we tighten this all down, as we bring this all home, think about it this way. If you've been stuck in getting those things out there that make an impact, you've been stuck in the draft modes, you've been refining things instead of releasing, you told yourself like one more tweak is being responsible, but deep down, it's just a delay. Then hear this as clear as possible. That's perfectionism, and perfectionism isn't proof you care more. It's proof you're trying to control what you can't control. The real cost isn't imperfection, it's invisibility, it's lack of impact. Ideas never get tested, momentum never builds, confidence never compounds. Everything we walk through today, trust me, it works. It works. I promise you, I've seen it work for so many people. And for some of you, if you just start going through these things we talked about, it's going to be enough. You're going to start to ship version 1 this week. You're going to define helpful instead of chasing imperfect. You're going to release before you feel ready. You're going to collect the evidence, all that sort of stuff. Like, and those shifts alone, like that's going to start shifting your identity, and that matters. It has such an impact, and I'm excited for you. Now, some of you may feel like you need more. And that's where it's like, well, go follow us on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, under the username The Giver Method. Follow us here on YouTube. Subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. Go to thegivermethod.com, check out the free resources, get on the newsletter list. I'll put a link to them below. Get yourself a copy. Like I said, there'll be a link early on in the description about the Giver Method, or pause and go to Amazon and get yourself a copy. Like I said, for $2, why not? Like, get yourself a copy. Like, it's gonna be so impactful to you. Now some of you may be thinking like, hey, I get this. But like, when it actually matters, when it's visible, when my reputation's online, I start to default back in that way. Like, and that's honest. Like, and that it happens, because like the insight that there's a problem here doesn't automatically override the patterns that you've been running for years, especially if perfectionism has been a protection strategy for so long. And that's like, for people like you, that's why you want to look at the Ignition Accelerator program. It's not a productivity system. It's not a try harder system. Like, it's a 90-day one-on-one like partnership, mentorship. Like, I walk right alongside you to build in like the repeatable processes to get your impact out there, to get the releases into the real world. Like, how do we get your gifts out there where people can be impacted by it? We're going to identify like where you've been leaking energy from all this stuff. Like, where's perfectionism disguising itself as responsibility? How do we translate all these things, your gifts, your superpowers, into contribution, and install structures so that you stop living in this draft mode of things? You can actually start to like build the life you want, and that you're not going to fall back into these old patterns again, because it'll have the right systems and frameworks that you need to actually move forward and continue to make the impact in the way that only you can. You go from like, I don't feel like I can get this out there, I can't ship it yet, to like, I can get it out there, I can ship it, I can learn, I can refine. You go from hiding in preparation to building proof in public, from chasing any sort of readiness to becoming like proven. Like, now you may not need that. This video may be enough. You might be applying the principles this week and finally break through things, and that's incredible. I'm not trying to funnel you anywhere, but like, if this video is not great, if the free resources down below in the description are great, if it's the book, great, like all of that, But the goal of none of this is like, I just want you to stop wasting your gifts in private. But here's the thing, if you're tired of living in the drafts and feeling behind while working hard, and you don't need more motivation, you need structure, then check out the Ignition Accelerator program. Use the link below, check out the page. If it makes sense to book a call, book a call. And we'll have a conversation about like whether it makes sense for you to be in that or not. Now, before you go, answer one question for me in the comments if you can. What's one thing you've been holding back on because it's not ready? Just name it. Because like naming it usually, like, that's where the moment like grip, like, this perfectionism grip starts to loosen a little bit, because like, you're not behind or incapable. You're stuck in this loop, and loops can always be broken. Helpful always beats perfect. Contribution always beats control. Your gifts get sharper in motion, not in hiding. And so I can't wait to see what you can do when you start getting those things out there and making the impact in the way that only you can. Hopefully we will catch you in one of our upcoming videos. Check out thegivermethod.com for more resources. Follow us on social media. Check out the links in the description. And hopefully you'll be able to check out some of the other videos on the channel, or one of the upcoming videos we have coming out. So hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.